Hi Modern Miss Huxtables and hopefully Mr. Huxtables as well. Today I'm here for another installment in our Dear Sister project for College Edition, and this video is going to focus on why am I here? So I had to rep my HU paraphernalia bison again today, and I want to talk about, did you ever take the time to reflect and think? I mean, you complete high school, you do your applications, you get your letters of recommendation, you take your SAT or your ACT, you apply to college, you get in, you get your acceptance letter, you get to school, you pick out your new, your comforter, your stuff for your dorm room, your shower caddy, you're ready to go, you got your books hopefully, and then it's like, why am I here? I remember when I taught at Temple University, I would always ask my students on the first day of class, I would have them introduce themselves, and I would always ask them, why are you in college? Like, what motivates you? What is your purpose? Why are you here? And I almost always got the same two answers. This is what you're supposed to do, or this, this is what my parents want me to do, or you graduate high school and you go to college, that's what you're supposed to do, or if I go to college, I'm gonna get rich and make a lot of money. And just so we could critically think about those answers, it's just a lot of people major in certain things in college and then they do things for their career or for their profession that have nothing to do with what they majored in. So yes, going to college does increase your salary, it does increase your ability to get and sustain a job, absolutely, but it doesn't automatically equal some type of job security or some type of six-figure job's going to be waiting for you as soon as you get your diploma. That's not necessarily how it works, and you need to be using your skill set, developing who you are, your tenacity, your intellect, your critical thinking skills, your set of skill development, so that you can be a contribution to the workforce, that you could be a contribution in your workplace. It just doesn't automatically mean you get a college degree and then suddenly you're rich. And then if you're pure or sole motivation for being in college is to please your parents or to do it because that's what they want you to do, I've watched and worked with so many students that I've seen crash and burn because they just weren't at a maturity level to really be in school and be focused. They didn't really care, they didn't really get it, and their heart really wasn't in it. It wasn't attached to anything, and they probably would have been a lot more successful had they taken some time off to just work or taken some time off to really think about what it was that they wanted to do, and not that that meant that they weren't smart or that they didn't have all the potential in the world, but college is a big financial decision and it's a huge time commitment, and it's stressful, it's exhausting. So if you're not ready to kind of take that leap, I encourage students to talk to their parents and talk to the people that have these expectations for them and just say, I'm not ready right now, or these are some things I'm gonna struggle with or I need to think about or work through, because it is a huge commitment. So the sole kind of concept for this video is, why am I here? Why am I in college? And I think a lot of times it's easy at many stages in life to come up with a million different reasons why everyone else wants you to do something, why everyone else wants you to be somewhere, but you haven't taken any time to reflect yourself internally about your purpose or what's driving you or what you want to get out of this place or this experience. And I encourage everyone out there to journal, and I am one of the biggest people, it's still very difficult for me to journal. It's very difficult for me to sit down and focus and just let my my heart and spirit pour out on the page. But in college, you're going to be required to regurgitate information constantly, to memorize and regurgitate information, hopefully to be able to intake information, critically think about it, and create your own opinion or your own response to it. But you're just going to be bombarded with so much content all the time, and you don't ever, I think, get the opportunity, or are you encouraged to listen to your spirit, to your voice. And I think also with this generation, with technology and with social media the way that it is, I mean, when I was an undergrad, the summer before I entered my freshman year, Facebook was just getting big. And I remember one of my fellow students saying, like, you don't have a Facebook account? And at that time, you had to use your college Facebook email to even get on Facebook. It was just for college students, and you had to use your, such and such at howard.edu. You had to use your school specific email. But now, I mean, there's Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. There's all these measures of social, Twitter. So all this content and information bombarding you all the time with other people's expectations, other people's depictions of their perfect life or perfect marriage or perfect hair or perfect makeup, perfect clothes, perfect college experience, perfect boyfriend, perfect, it's just all these images of perfection. And when you feel like you don't measure up, it's once again even more difficult to find your voice. So I encourage, if you're in school, if you've started school, just take an afternoon to just sit down, like, why am I here? What is it that I'm trying to genuinely get out of this experience? What am I trying to get out of it? I think that's why so many times students get so frustrated with determining a major, because it's almost like that defines who I am forever. Like you get your major tatted on your chest and it can never be removed. Most of the people that I know do nothing that has to do with their major or majority of the classes that they took in undergrad. So it's not necessarily that serious per se. That's very complicated, but why are you there? What's driving you? And I say that because for me, sometimes I like to think about things from a money perspective, and I think it always got through to my students when I said things in terms of money. But a lot of times when you've graduated high school, you haven't really been responsible for all, you don't pay your mortgage, you don't maybe pay your cell phone bill, your mortgage, your car note, you don't have all these bills and responsibilities. So the concept of paying thousands of dollars for something doesn't really resonate the same as when maybe you're a young professional and you have all those responsibilities on yourself. It's like, oh, I just take out this huge loan, or my parents take out this huge loan. You don't realize it's a huge financial commitment. It costs a lot, and a lot of people don't have access to it. A lot of people come all over the world to the US to gain access to our education. So it's costly. It's not free. It's not guaranteed. It costs and is an exclusive kind of club. So if you're entering, you got to come ready. You got to be ready to perform and ready to do hopefully the best that you can do. So what I did was I broke down, if you're in school 4 years, sometimes it takes people longer, but it's 8 semesters of your life. And if each of those semesters, has 5 months, it's 40 months total for your undergraduate degree. 40 months of your life that you're dedicating towards getting this degree. So what are you going to do to utilize that time and make it the best that it can be? If you're just going to kind of trudge through and show up and just be I don't care, whatever, just show up, I had some papers due. If that's your attitude and your outlook going into it, it's just a kind of a waste of your time, a waste of your life, a waste of your time. If you're not going to go and try to get the most and the best out of it to please other people who aren't sitting there with you, and it costs a lot, you really have to think about, what am I doing here? And how can I make the most of this experience and get the most out of this opportunity? And from a financial standpoint, so I just went on Mizzou, University of Missouri's website, and looked up information for the 2014-2015 school year. So I found that the tuition at Mizzou for 14 credit hours is $10,286. So for a school year, you're going to be paying $10,286 for your tuition. That's a lot of money. If you don't want to go to class, if you don't feel like it, if you don't want to read, if you don't want to listen to your professor talk, if you don't want to study, you could spend $10,000 doing something else. You see what I'm saying? Like, you can't go into it with this kind of attitude of I don't care, or it's whatever, or I'm going to sit in class and text the whole time. It's a lot of money. It's a big investment. Their figure for room and board was $9,640. So it's very costly to, live on campus or to commute or to have that expense. Their figures for books was $1,114. I don't know how many students I had while teaching that would tell me, I didn't do the reading. I don't want to read. I don't like reading. I didn't read. You're paying thousands of dollars for your textbooks and you don't want to read them. You could spend it on something else. It's like you're paying tons and tons of money. The hustle of, if you've been in college, books, I spend all this money to buy the book, and then when I sell it back, I get only a small fraction back. So you lost money. So that's a lot of money for your books. And then personal expenses, they've had a figure of $3,664. So your transportation and personal expenses. So they have it coming to $24,704 for 1 year. That equals $98,816 over 4 years. So you're basically investing $100,000 in yourself, in your mind, in your intellect to better yourself. So if you think about $100,000, you better get your money's worth. That's how I look at it, you know. And by getting a college degree, it definitely raises your salary. It definitely raises your ability to get hired. So over time, it's definitely an investment, and it's a worthy investment, and it's a long-term investment, you know. And it's teaching you kind of delayed gratification. But at the same time, it's $100,000 that you're investing up here, right? And if you're not going to go hard, if you're not going to apply yourself, if you're not going to show up and show out, $100,000 over 4 years can be spent another way. If you're not mature enough, if you're not ready, then you need to sit down and reflect on how that money can be utilized in another way. So what I really want you to reflect on, journal on, is think about, why am I here? And furthermore, what is my legacy? You know, there are so many people globally that don't have access to education, that can't afford education, that for whatever circumstances are not capable of going to school. There are so many people. I used to read on campus, we had one of our main buildings is called Douglass Hall, after Frederick Douglass. And after reading the narrative, Frederick Douglass's slave narrative, I realized just how dangerous it was for slaves to even be caught reading, to be caught holding a book. And with that in mind, that historical frame of reference, I realized there's no excuse why I didn't read for class. There's no excuse why I show up in class and joke or think it's funny that I didn't try or even apply myself or even open the book and I knew it was due today for us to discuss or be tested on. So think about investing in yourself. Think about pushing yourself intellectually to the farthest point imaginable, and view it as an opportunity, view it as almost a privilege, as an incredible responsibility, and think about, what is my legacy? How am I going to make the most of this education? And what am I going to do to give back, to better myself, better my community, better my family, and help to hone and shape my purpose? So I hope this video was helpful. Please comment, please subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Peace and light.